Will the Wall Street accept a Indian CEO? What if our IPO fails with us?
When you were raising funds, you got rejected by some 50 investors.
So it was 1982. Why haven't Indians been entrepreneurs? An Indian entrepreneur was unknowable, unquantifiable risk. So nobody's tried one. Maybe it's time to try one. The digital computer and IBM priced at $30,000, and I priced mine at $14,995.
Yeah.
I had gone from being an engineer nerd to a seasoned CEO. India's future is entrepreneurs. Can we have 1% of Indians become entrepreneurs by 2047? There's not enough risk appetite in India to fund all the entrepreneurs that we need to have. If I have 10 million entrepreneurs and each gets $100,000 worth of capital, that's $1 trillion.
So we'll start this conversation with your son. And what did Ben say when you started TIE? When you had limitless options to do so many things, and then you started TIE? Like, what was the idea behind it?
You know, so I was not quite 50 when we started TIE. 1993, 92, 93, I was 48. I didn't plan to make it my full-time job. I wanted to take a year off. I thought maybe I'll take a year off. I had been working for 26, 27 years, non-stop, no vacations, type of thing, right? And but I got pulled in very quickly because I had been focused on myself, my career, my competition, and America is a very competitive place, and so India liberalized in 91, and people started to talk about, maybe it's about time, and around that time we met, 7, 8 of us met. For the first time, I had a chat with Suhas Patel. Suhas was another entrepreneur in the Valley. He had done Cirrus Logic. And we started to compare notes. And one thing became very clear. We all had a very lonely journey. We had nobody who encouraged us. We had no mentors. We had nobody to talk to. And nobody had any faith in us. Nobody believed the Indians to do what we were trying to do. And so Suhas said, it shouldn't have been that lonely. And from there, maybe we ought to become the mentors. Maybe we ought to become the role models. Maybe we ought to inspire our people to become entrepreneurs. So the idea came that let's hold a workshop for entrepreneurs. The TIE is not quite formed yet, and so we announced a workshop for entrepreneurs, and we had a informal thought, we will do some presentations and we'll have the breakout sessions. And we thought maybe 100 people will sign up. 500 people signed up.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Which year it was?
93.
93.
500 people signed up. Oh my God, we have to become a little bit more structured, a little bit more disciplined.
And they were all Indian Americans? They were all Indian Americans? Where was this
these
happening?
were all Indian Americans. This was a thought of inspiring, encouraging our people to become entrepreneurs. There are 7 of us who had done fairly well, and we had come together for the first time. So that event ran very well, and 500 people showed up, and 2 days event, word spread very rapidly. This is great. So now we had to say, what's next? We have aroused people.
Yeah.
We cannot leave them, right?
Yeah.
And so we started to hold monthly meetings, and TIE evolved very quickly out of that one. So I tell people now, it's like the old saying by Victor Hugo, the idea whose time has come. Nothing, nobody can stop the. So this was an idea whose time had come, and this thing was spreading like a wildfire. Fire has to be there, and then we came to India in 98, 99. We brought about a dozen people, and we had a seminar held in Bombay and Delhi, and it was titled Entrepreneurship and Wealth Creation, Silicon Valley Style. And it talked about this Silicon Valley phenomena. That was the first time anybody talked about that in India. Yeah. And Bajpayee's government was very receptive to what we were saying. And we engaged with them, and we talked to them about the laws, especially the venture capital laws. So they passed a law to allow the FVC, a foreign venture capital asset class, right? Which made it very easy for people to invest in India. And it's still there, but it's not as easy as it was earlier. And then we talked about the telecom policy.
You wrote a very provocative article that made even then Prime Minister Bajpayee call you. Right? Let's talk about the tough love that you showed to India.
DOT Hatao, Desh Bachao.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
There's a story in the book I wrote. That when I went to see Prime Minister, he had given a speech. IT is India's tomorrow. This is around 2000. IT is India's tomorrow, and I said, if IT is our future, then we need to do something about our telecom infrastructure. Because we have a really ancient telecom monopoly by the government, and IT is the lifeline of the IT industry. And then he says, "Bataiye kya kare?" Simple request, and we took that to mean, tell us what to do. We went back, and we formed a group at Stanford University. Can we come up with a recommendations to what they should do? So I came back, the suggestions. I went to see the IT minister, Ramvilas Paswan, and he tells me, you shouldn't worry about the telecom policy. You should worry about India's number one problem. And what is that? The population problem. He tells me I should spend my energy helping solve India's population problem. So I said, why are you worried about population? You are not the health minister, you are the telecom minister. And he said, in any case, the telecom policy is our national defense issue. We will never change it. I said, why are you worried about national defense? You're not a defense minister either. And then, as I was leaving, he says, you're wasting your time. We will never change it.
He said that.
Yeah. And that's when I wrote that op-ed.
And then that call happened.
Yeah. And Prime Minister read that op-ed, and he told me back. And the policy was very simple. Don't sell licenses, revenue share. Let anybody and everybody start a telephone company, 7% revenue share. It was two-page policy. It wasn't very complex policy.
Yes.
And they adopted that policy. Prime Minister replaced Ramvilas Paswan and put Pramod Mahajan as the Minister of Telecom. Within a week after he became minister, they adopted our recommendation. That day, on April 1st, 2001, there were 1 million mobile phones in India, and there were 17 million landlines. 1 year later, there were 83 million mobile phones in India and 17 million landlines, and we have never looked back. And, I shouldn't say we never looked back. When the Manmohan Singh's government came in place, they had this guy from I'm trying to remember, Dyanidhi Maran. He became the telecom minister, and he changed the policy back to the license sale. I don't know if you remember the 2G, 3G standard.
Yes, yes, yes. This.
When they went back to the old policy of selling licenses, when you sell licenses, people have to bribe you to make sure they get the licenses, and that's what happened. And so there was a hit for a while there, but by enough change had happened. The telecom network in India is pretty good now, right?
Yes.
And without that, you wouldn't be able to do most of the entrepreneurship.
Yes, yes.
That was done under the TIE umbrella. This policy change was recommended, even though I took the lead, but it was a TIE effort.
And sir, you have also mentioned that when you left India, Indians were always talented. Indians were skilled, but they were not confident. So, do you think it's now changed, or it's the same pattern that's continuing?
Well, see, the confidence part was very straightforward. We had been under the British thumb for a long time. I was born in 1945. And India was dirt poor, right? And IITs were new. I went to IIT. IITs were new. The best you could hope to do after you left IIT, if you stayed in India, was a bit of a management trainee. Tata was top notch. DCM. Or any of the other companies. Management training was the option, and there was no design work. There was no engineering work to really speed up. So we had to go to America, and of course there is no tradition of Indians as engineers and scientists. So confidence comes from doing it, right?
Yes.
And so our generation had to keep their head down. The brand India in 1966, 67 was very simple: a land of snake charmers and a land of beggars. The notion that we have top-notch engineers coming out of India was laughable,
yes.
Right? So we have to keep our head down. We have to take the abuse, but slowly and steadily, we built our reputation. By making it happen at universities. Professors noticed that Indians were doing really well, and then at jobs in early 70s. By mid 70s, 75, 76, both university and industry were starting to see, that Indians are pretty good in what they do. But again, a new, brand started to emerge. These guys from India, they have this mathematical gene. They are smart with numbers. But they are not managerial material. They cannot sell, market, be a general managers, be entrepreneurs, only because nobody had done it.
Yes.
It wasn't that we had done and we have failed. We were not getting the promotions into management ranks. We were not being hired into non-technical ranks, sales and marketing.
It was confidence issue and it was opportunity issue.
Yeah. So when I was only 35, 36, and I realized that I had reached the top of the ladder in technical field. I'm not moving into management ranks, and it started to scare me that, hey, I'm only 36, 37, and this is all I can do in my life. I'll have to stay here for the rest of my life. Unless, so when I talked to my boss about, moving into management, he was pretty clear. He said, we're not sure that you will be good in, that you're very good at what you're doing. We're paying you good salary, but we're not sure that white people, certainly indirectly, will vote for the Indians.
Yeah.
So and that was sort of true in the sense that it had not been tried. So eventually, you have to say, I gotta go try to see if I can make it happen. And so it was 1982 that we decided to try our hand. 1981 was the year sort of world changed. IBM PC that announced. The first time there's a professional machine on the desktop of the office workers backed by IBM. You already have the mainframes, you already have the mini computers, the super micro computers using units were becoming available. You have all these machines based upon new microprocessor technology. And we scratched our head and said, there's hodgepodge of these machines, data is spread all over. If you're going to have a machine on your desktop, it will have to access the proper data stored on the mainframes and mini computers. And so they said, why don't we go to the networking? We network all these machines. So back in 82, we were the pioneers in computer networking.
But it happened multiple times, right? Even when I was reading in the book only, that when you were raising funds, you got rejected by some 50 investors, right? So we would love to hear that John Barshay from eBay Partners story. I loved reading it, so I'm sure people can also.
Right. The venture capitalists are risk takers.
Yes.
But they take the risk they understand and quantify, and they can price that risk into the valuation. An Indian entrepreneur was unknowable, unquantifiable risk. So again, the same issues that I mentioned earlier. Well, they are not sales and marketing people. Will the white senior guys will come and work for them? So that was a bit unknown, and but again, like I said, venture capitalists are risk takers, and one venture capitalist, John Barsh, I mentioned, he looked at our said, he says, damn good business plan. I love the way you guys are thinking, but there's no businessman in the team. Why don't you go find a businessman and I'll fund it? Sir, we don't want to have a businessman. We are the businessman. We want to do it ourselves. And he says, stubborn, aren't you guys? I say, yes, we left our jobs to do it. We not to become employees again. And he says, why haven't Indians been entrepreneurs? They're smart people. He's doing some loud thinking. They're smart people. Has anybody tried one? No, sir, nobody's tried one. And I said, why not? And then he says, maybe it's time to try one. So he's doing loud thinking in front of us. We're doing up and down and emotionally. And then he says, tell you what, I'll make you one offer. And you have 15 minutes to decide. And I don't want any sales from you guys. I'll give you $2 million for half the company. We thought that was a very fair offer. And it was unmarketed. And we said, we don't need 15 minutes. We don't even need 15 seconds. Yes, sir, we'll take that offer. And that's how John funded us. And John made over 100 times his money.
Wow.
Only because he left early. Because the other people who stayed, they made maybe 200 times their money. One who stayed to the Nobel merger and all that. So see, the story is not complete. We got funded in 82. So there were three of us founders. Myself, IIT Bombay guy, a little bit rusted. He didn't speak English very well, not very polished. We had in Naveen Jain, PhD from CMU, gold medalist from BITS Pilani, a near genius in software. And we had third guy, Dr. Inder Monsin, IIT Kharagpur, PhD from Yale, very polished, Doon Stool, and very articulate. So he was the CEO. I was the back room person designing the hardware. And Naveen was writing software, and Inder was supposed to be raising money and managing sales and marketing. boards were done, but nobody's buying them. 18 months pass, and sales are not materializing. John Bash and the other board members are very upset. Eventually, you'll read the detailed reasons in the book. Indra got fired by the board, and because John Bass was feeling a little bit bad. He said, I should have never taken the risk on you guys. I knew that you guys couldn't sell and market, and that was true, right? So Indra gets fired, and then he looks at me and says, why don't you run the company while we go find the CEO? And by the way, don't spend any money, and incidentally, no more money for you guys. So so he walked out, and here I had the company. Indra is done, and I thought Indra was not doing a good job myself. Indra was doomed to zamindars, almost royalty, not used to doing any work with hand. He grew up having servants, and so he was like 6 hours a day, 7 hours a day, and here I'm working 12 to 14 hours a day, right? So after he was let go, I took over and very quickly turned the place on. Why aren't people buying our stuff? Is there no market for what we have? We already, there's a market. Is there competition which has a superior product than us? No, there's no competition. Have we priced it right? Price is pretty reasonable. Why aren't they buying? Do they know that we have this to sell? And everybody looked around, maybe not. And so I said, why don't we advertise? Now we don't have much money. We have 7-8 months worth of cash. I said, why don't we take some money and advertise? And everybody says, we don't have enough money. I said, but we don't die in 7-8 months. Why don't we take 2 months worth of cash and advertise? And that 2 months of cash to advertise made all the difference. In the book, I have that ad that I ran. Within 2 months of the ad running, the phone started to ring, and a product started to fly off the shelf, and we never looked back.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that day, how did you feel? Like, because board didn't have confidence in you.
Oh yeah, the board didn't have confidence because we weren't selling. Nobody was buying, and all of a sudden, we are selling like, there's no tomorrow. The board had a lot of confidence after that one. All of a sudden, the image changed overnight, and so until you have done it, you haven't done it. You have to prove it. John Bash had a famous line to me when I tried to tell him that, hey, we are doing well. He says, show me the numbers. But I don't have the numbers yet. And he said, yeah. Spare me the story. Show me the numbers. And I have never forgotten that one. So when the numbers started to happen, I called up John Bash. I have the numbers for you.
Yeah.
And he said, are these real numbers? I said, go talk to the CFO. The CFO was a white guy. He called up the CFO, and CFO said, yeah, they're all real numbers. We have real money in the bank. So that's what it takes. You have to show, you have to make it happen in numbers.
That's how not just you guys, John Bachao also made history with this investment, right?
Yeah. Even with that, we have proven that we can design, we have proven we can sell and market, right? We are going to go public. We are going to go public towards the end of 86. Will the Wall Street accept an Indian CEO?
Yes.
What if our IPO fails because Wall Street doesn't like the Indian CEO? And so we all, board is telling me that we are going to have to put a CEO here who looks like a Wall Street CEO, acceptable CEO. This is like a star from the central casting. So we hired this guy from HP as he was general manager of a division and did more. So he got hired 2 months before the IPO as a CEO. So I had to step aside, and John Bosch asked me, do you want to be rich or you want to be a CEO? I want to be both. He said, well, you have to choose. Yeah. I want to be rich, right? Then I'll do it on my own. And so I had to step aside and did more, became a CEO. Did more turned out to be not very good. 6 months after the IPO, we was fired by the board. And I went back to become a CEO second time. And so never looked back after that.
But how do you feel like when in that moment you're not the first choice?
At some, so they were not being malicious.
I think these are the moments when you feel lonely.
Yes.
Like,
so you always come back to the basics. Are they being malicious? Or are they being rational? John Bosch had given us the money, when nobody else would, and now he's counting the money, and he's worried about. He was one person who made a decision to give us the money, but on Wall Street,
yes,
lots of people will have to decide, and they don't know me from Adam. So their logic was impeccable. If we all have put in effort, this is finally working. And John Boss told me, once you have made money, you can go do your own startup. And do whatever you want to do. But if you haven't made the money, IPO fails, you'll be nowhere. So I felt a little bit cheated, but it didn't last very long. 8 months later, I was back to being a CEO.
Back again, yes.
And in many cases, they did more, totally dependent upon my thinking. Anytime he made a decision on his own, it turned out to be not very, very good. See, when you are a general manager at a large company of a division, you are not a financial thinker.
Yes.
Somebody else is doing the financial plan. In a startup, the founder, CEO has to be a financial thinker. And that was the problem. John was not, Richard Moore, he was not able to make a risky decisions that I was able to make. I made a decision to advertise, and use the cash, steer cash, right? Things like that. Corporate guys are not able to do.
The company went public in the year
1987.
Okay, and when this merger happened with Novel?
In 1989.
I think in just 7 years you took the company to public.
5 years.
5 years. It's just quite.
Because it took off like a rocket after the advertising and never stopped growing. And so my theory was everybody would need networking. Everybody has a desktop PC. Everybody has a mainframe. I'm talking about businesses. Everybody has a mini computers. So this is not a vertical product. This is a horizontal product. Everybody would need it. So my advertising was very much focused on, sorry. If you need to transfer files, if you need to access corporate data, if you need to do remote applications, I have a solution for you.
Yes.
There are a few more nuances. We were lucky enough to pick the right technologies. The technologies that we backed and picked, at the time became the technology that internet uses, Ethernet and TCP/IP. So there were some smart, and lucky, decisions, which helped. The pricing. I talked about the pricing as the value pricing. The cost has nothing to do with the price at which you sell, especially software. What is the price of software? So you looked at the customer and says, what is he doing now? What is he spending now? And then you say, how much discount he has to be given from what he's spending now for him to try my stuff. I looked at the Digital, computer, and IBM. And what were they were doing? How were they pricing? So they were not selling the hardware and software. They were selling a network connection as a whole package in a box app. And I said, okay, we can bundle our hardware, our software, everything you need, the transceiver, the cable, the wire, the screws in a box. The digital had priced them at $30,000. And I priced mine at $49.95.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same stuff was being sold at $2,060 when I became a CEO. And all of a sudden, I priced them at $49.95. And everybody thought, I'm being silly. But that price stuck.
Yes.
That price stuck. And all of a sudden, business is happening. We are selling this stuff, and margins are great. I promise the customers money back guarantee, 100% satisfaction. If it doesn't work, I'll send out a person to make it work for you guys. So there was enough margin for all that, and stuff was reliable. It worked. Didn't have to return any money to anybody. So then the board saw all that. I had gone from being an engineer nerd to a seasoned CEO. So there's the chapter in the book talking about the CEO. There were no mentors, nobody to help me. Nobody. So I was always going back to first principles. Using the logic.
Yes.
Why aren't people buying? And so I've told people that first principles are a wonderful way to analyze and resolve a problem.
So I'll go back to my question. We were talking about Indian founders or Indian American founding teams, and because we also invest in Indian founders, and they are eventually selling to global markets, mostly to Indian US markets, and most of the follow-on rounds happen with American VC funds. So how do they now see Indian founding teams? Because founders are still advised to have one white guy in sales team.
Well, so now
how would you see it?
So now it has become more situational.
Yeah.
More situational because if you're selling in American market, you should have American employees also, maybe part of your team. Because you're sitting in India, you're too far away from the market. And my VP of finance was a white guy, my VP of marketing was a white guy, my VP of sales was a white guy. I was Indian CEO. The thing is,
you're saying
we have broken the barrier. We have broken the barrier. We have broken the glass ceiling where Indian CEOs have become acceptable to the American investors, American employees, American senior people. So what happens is a lot of people who have never been to America, they are CEOs of the company here, and they are expanding to America. There are cultural issues. There are nuances, that you have to be aware. So having Americans as a part of your team is a smart strategy. But the Infosys, Wipro, TCS, they are going through that change now. TCS, if you're going to sell to all the American corporations, all the work is done in India, all the salespeople are Indian, Americans start to wonder, how are we benefiting, right? So eventually you have to have,
it's a right set of
determination, right?
So eventually, I think this is the pattern Indian founders are now following, that they start in India, set up their tech team, and then 6 months in, and founder moves to Bay Area.
Founder moves to US, hires the sales and marketing people over there.
Yes.
Yeah. So let me give you a rational reason for that one. When you have a Delaware corporation, you are seen as an American company. Under the American law, the qualified small business team, there's a huge tax benefit. When you invest in a startup in America, there's a huge tax benefit. $10 million of your capital gains are tax-free per investor. So if you are a fund, let's say your fund, you have 10 LPs, $100 million worth of your capital gains are tax-free.
Yes.
They apply at the investor level, not at the fund level.
Fund level.
So all of a sudden, the US taxes disappear. When you are, deliver interpretation, nothing has changed.
Yes.
Interpret. But looking from customers' perspective, a lot of customers still have a bias from buying from overseas.
What stops India to have that kind of structure?
Let me give you the full argument. Customers, some customers have policies not to buy from overseas. Some crucial technology, but they're buying from an American company, even though it's a paper shell.
Yes.
So both investors and customers are happy.
Yes.
But all the jobs, all the IP is being done in India.
In India.
So I describe your developer interpretation as Dart's gift to Indian founders.
Yes.
If your customers are in the US, if your investors are in the US, you're much better off interpreting developer. The government of India would like you to have the headquarters here.
Yes.
I don't see the benefit. I don't see the rational reason for that one. It's mostly emotional reason. If I can raise the money from American investors, I can hire all the Indians to do the work. All the jobs are here.
Yeah.
I can sell to the American customer the technology and produce in India. Why won't I do it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not just for startups, for funds like us also. So we are also a Delaware HQ'd fund.
Okay.
And we raise money from people who are pretty excited about Indian startup ecosystem, Indian market. They want to be part of it, but they're still not sure about sending their money to India. So their money is in US only, or they're sending their money from Europe to US, but they're still investing in Indian talent, right?
So India's future is entrepreneurs. India's future is entrepreneurs. We have 200,000 entrepreneurs. Can we have 1% of Indians become entrepreneurs by 2047? 10 million plus entrepreneurs. If you have 10 million entrepreneurs, almost all the problems are solved. You don't, you're creating wealth, you're creating jobs in India. How are they funded? Almost is immaterial. If I have 10 million entrepreneurs and each gets $100,000 worth of capital, that's $1 trillion. That's $1 trillion. It's not going to come from the savings of Indians.
Yeah.
We need to have laws that roll out the red carpet, get rid of the red tape for all the world's savings, to flow to India, to invest in our entrepreneurs. So when I was telling Arun Jaitley, why aren't you letting me to come to India directly? Give me the same benefits that you give me through Mauritius. I was telling him to get rid of the capital gain taxes. We weren't paying any capital gain taxes in India when we came through Mauritius. Why can't we get rid of capital gain taxes? Our goal is to have 10 million entrepreneurs who will create 200 million jobs. It doesn't matter where the capital is coming from.
Yes.
And let the Indian investors participate, let the foreign investors participate. The old saying by Deng Xiaoping, the guy who comes from China, it doesn't matter if the cat is white or black, as long as he catches mice.
What did he say to you? What did he say when you asked for the...
He shut down the Mauritius route. Instead of opening up the Indian route, he shut down the Mauritius route. Right? That's what he did. And when I said, why are you not charging the speculators on the stock market, your sattebaz, and you're charging me for the startup? He put the taxes on them. He didn't give me the relief. So Arun Jaitley turned out to be a disaster. I should have kept my mouth shut. I thought he was a good friend. I thought I was very close to him, I thought. But what he did was stupid. The 95% of money to India was coming through Mauritius. It had been happening for almost 30 years. Almost 30 years. And all of a sudden, he shuts down, charges, have the foreign investments in India have basically dried up. Yeah, we need to use all the savings in the world to further our cause, support our entrepreneurs. There's not enough risk appetite in India to fund all the entrepreneurs that we need to have. We need to, our tax money will be made from income taxes and GST. We should not begrudge the risk takers in making money. They lose money on 5 companies and they make one big hit and you tax it away, right?
Yes.
So, the notion that rich are getting richer, I hear that from time to time. Rich are getting richer is fine as long as he's creating jobs in India. Our need is jobs.
So Indian startups are doing quite well. What do you think about what's happening on policy level?
So the startups are doing really well because Indian entrepreneurs are very, very good.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs are very, very good here. And they are fast learners. They are learning fast. Policy is getting better. I don't want to say policy is static. Policy is getting better. They have lowered the GST lately. They redefined the small company, the size. But they are still incremental thinkers. They are still incremental thinkers. They are not clear thinkers. I talked about earlier, when we were socialists, we were half-assed socialists. We didn't educate and invest in healthcare of the population. Now we have been capitalist, we are still being half-assed capitalist. Let the capital flow. Let the capitalism happen. Let the 10 million entrepreneurs emerge. We don't need to do anything for the entrepreneurs other than step out of their way, let the capital flow. And then have this messaging like I have. Can we have entrepreneurs emerging in second, third, fourth tier cities? Can we have entrepreneurs emerge in villages? So this thing here, trust, is a Kanwal Rekhi, rural entrepreneurship center in Nizamabad. The goal is to see if we can jumpstart entrepreneurship in the villages, third tier city, fourth tier cities. Again, this is a non-profit thing, and it's doing really well. It's been up for 2 years, and the building was finally up. So I came here to inaugurate the building. We have an entrepreneur from
It's
a
in
village.
Nizamabad.
Yeah, Nizamabad. We have an entrepreneur who came from one of the villages and went to IIT Bombay. Went back to his village and realized the tools used by his parents, his uncles, and the villagers were very primitive. He set about to redesign the tools they were using, plow and other things. All of a sudden, the incomes start growing up in the villages. They are a lot more productive. Now 70,000 farmers within 100-mile radius are using these tools.
Wow.
And he has a business of 5 crore revenue this year. And he expects to be 50 crore revenue in about 2 to 3 years. Not unfunded. He came to our thing, he got a few $1,000s from us. He used our labs. Unfunded. And now he's dreaming big. He thinks he can use solar power to have battery-powered tools. He can provide, he's dreaming big. How can he help, his village? So that's the idea. Can we have entrepreneurs who are using the latest technologies to solve the local problems in their villages? They don't have to be unicorns to be successful.
Yes.
Can we provide them $50,000, $100,000 worth of capital? Right? So this whole idea of trust is, can we replicate this model to all the states? So when I talk about 10 million entrepreneurs, I'm thinking along, we have this unicorn venture-backed entrepreneurs. We have this micro entrepreneurs. And some of those will emerge as very big entrepreneurs. We should India's brand, I told you, was Snake Charmers and Betters. India's brand now is a technology and entrepreneurial powerhouse. We should own that brand. We should be proud of that brand.
So that's the shift you now see. Like you left India in year 1967, right? Because you were highly educated. The working opportunity was not there. So what has changed?
Yeah. So let me tell you. In 1965, the last change in America, Sputnik got launched by Russians, and they beat America into space. And Americans say, "Oh my God, we are behind Soviet Union. They could put nuclear bomb up there, and we are in trouble. We need to speed up. We don't have enough scientists. We don't have enough engineers. They changed the laws, open the gates. Please Trump. We are coming out of IITs. We don't have jobs in India other than vitamin management trainees."
Yes.
And America says, "Please Trump." So we went, and we made the best of that situation. Pendulum has done full circle. 6 years later, the Americans don't think they need foreign engineers. I'm not saying that they're right, but they don't believe they're shutting the road down. But at the same time, the opportunity has transferred to India. You don't have to go to America to get a job. You can become entrepreneur here. You can become the global capability centers are being set up left and right. So you don't have to go to America, and you're not welcome anyway. Right? So I tell people, nobody has a birthright to go to America. Indians don't have a birthright to go to America.
And I saw a lot of people, entrepreneurs who built scaled ventures in India, people who chose not to go India because by that time there were opportunities, right?
Yeah.
When you graduated, there were no opportunities, right? But for these people, there were opportunities, and they chose to stay back in India and made big businesses.
India has transformed since I left India. 1991, India turned around. It started to become more and more a capitalist, more and more a free market, and so I tell this story also. When the British finally were taking over Delhi in 1800, India was 25% of world's GDP. We were the largest economy. We were the most creative, most entrepreneurial people in the world. British didn't come here to teach us anything. They came here to loot. Right? When they left in 1947, Indian GDP was only 2% of world's GDP. They had bled us dry, right? But the tragedy of India is from 1947 to 1991, our GDP further went down from 2% to 1% of the world's GDP, because we pursued the socialist policies. Our founding fathers got the politics right, but they got the economics wrong. So we turned the ship around in 1991, and 34, 35 years later, we are about 3.5% of world's GDP. So instead of 1% in 1991. So we are growing faster than the world. We are dating back. So I tell people, we are already the number 4 economy in the world. And if we don't do much, we'll be number 3 pretty soon. We'll be number 3, when we overtake Germany, maybe in 2-3 years from now, right? Are we happy being number 3? Should we try to be number 2?
We should.
Should we try to be are we happy being number 2? Or should we try to reclaim our rightful place of being number 1 that we were in 1800?
Do you see that happening?
I see that happening, not in my lifetime, but if we are smart people. If we put our faith in our entrepreneurs, we made it possible for 10 million, 20 million people to become entrepreneurs. I see 50 years from now, India becoming, we will definitely overtake China. We will definitely overtake China. Because China has done really well. But China is very brittle. A lot of pressures are built in China. Chances of an explosion happening within China are fairly high.
Like, what do you think about our strength as compared to China?
So I write in the book, and I also write in my blogs. There's a real-time experiment taking place. Two countries, India and China, becoming free around the same time, 1947, 1949. One is messy, bottoms-up democracy, resolving, emphasizing freedom. Other is disciplined, tidy, top-down, focused on efficiency, China. They're growing, China raced ahead. They were both in nonsense till about mid-80s. But China was not that much better than us coming into 1990, 91. But China became very disciplined, very focused, and they have raced ahead. They drew 10% plus for 30, 40 years. We didn't. Now they are 4 to 5 times our size. Here we are. I want to make 2 points. Here we are. We are very flexible. We have resolved most of the political issues. There's no internal tensions in India. There are always some Hindu Muslims, but nothing like China. You go to Chennai, you go to Kerala, you go to Punjab, you go to Bengal. You see peace and quiet, tranquility. Now we're starting to become more entrepreneurial. China is very tense society. So over a long period, I tell this to my American friends. Do you think India, which has adopted American values of democracy, rule of law, pluralism, would win or not? If India loses and China wins, you have no right to tell anybody to become a democratic, a pluralistic rule of law society. Chinese model is superior. It's proven. This real-time experiment. When I put it to them like that, they sit back and notice. I say India is proving that American set of values are valid, and you can use them, to develop. If you look at the world, Western countries, America, Europe, their wealth is somewhat ill-gotten. America had slavery. Slaves didn't get their due, that capital that used to build America. Europeans for sure looted. French, Dutch, English, went and had the colonies and brought the wealth home. India if it develops, and it's developing rapidly, will show the world, that it'll be the role model for the rest of the world. The American, values, definitely in a large, very diverse country, which was dirt poor at the time of independence, which was illiterate, was able to build slower than China. So I when I come back to these things, my basic thought is India is a noble experiment.
And what worries you about India?
I worry about nonsense coming out of BJP sometimes. I worry about I saw that story about that kid from Netherlands being killed in Dehradun. We are Indians. Somebody asked me yesterday, the day before yesterday, in Telangana, why are you doing this in Telangana? Why do you feel for us and not your Punjab? Punjab, why don't you do this in Punjab? And I looked at them and said, we are all Bharat Mata's children. My reference point is not Punjab. My reference point is India. How do we make it happen? The beauty of India is its diversity. You have, I go back to the basic spirited Punjabis. You have cerebral Madrasis. You have literary Bengalis. You have business wala Gujaratis. You have a khichdi, which has all the components, all the elements that you need.
And now with intercaste marriages, interreligion marriages, it is at least as new age people, I find it even more beautiful, right?
I had interracial marriage, international marriage, interreligious marriage. My wife, was a white Episcopalian. But her side, had a German, Swiss, English, American charity, background. Now my children are half Indian, part Swedish, part German, part English, part charity.
How did your family react to your marriage? They were obviously very happy by that time you made it.
No. They were not very happy when I
Because
married.
I remember how you discussed.
Married in 71. When she came with me to India in 73, my father was not happy. When I married in 71, I cut my hair. But when we came to India in 73, my father almost fell in love with my wife. All of a sudden, his perspective changed. And of course, I'm happily married. She is happy. We are doing well. So where's the problem, right?
Yeah.
Mia baby Raji.
Kya karega Kazi?
Yeah, right.
And how do you look the India-US relationship now?
So India is going to be now as rich as America eventually. We got our economics right. We have our politics right. So it's a matter of time. Whether it's 25 more years, 30 more years, India is growing much faster than US. The US-India relationship has been very mutually beneficial. US needed people. India sent people. We helped them win the Cold War. We brought the knowledge back. We brought the inspiration back. The Indians are now growing. US gave us the nuclear status 20 years ago, right? So there was a clarity. India is on our side. President Trump has a different mindset. But the dependence of US on Indian talent is fairly absolute. US produces 75,000 engineers a year. India produces close to 750,000 engineers a year. China produces 10 times more engineers than the US. If the next Cold War is between US and China, US will not have the heft, the demonstrated heft of smart people to fight China. China is only 2/3 of America's size. China is not that far behind economically. China is growing faster than America. China will overtake America by 2035. If the current trends hold, may or may not happen, but if the current trends hold, China will be a bigger economy than US. Europe and US put together don't have heft. So it's in their interest to make sure India stays on their side. If India joins forces with China, which is very unlikely, now 2/3 of the world, world's population is on one side, with Russia. So it is in the US. So I think President Trump is not a strategic thinker. His base, MAGA, is very narrowly focused. But US cannot do without Indian entrepreneurs.
Like
Indian
India
doctors.
has the highest tariffs.
The tariff, we'll see how long that lasts. We'll see how long that lasts. So they thought they could grow some muscle India. I wrote a blog about that one. India didn't allow anybody, India stayed independent, non-aligned. In 50s, when we were very poor, we were dirt poor, and we chose to be non-aligned, and rather than become America's ally here.
Yes.
India is much farther ahead. It's not going to be anybody's ally. It's not going to become, like a lackey of anybody.
Yeah.
And so the Americans are realizing that, by the way, that they may have overplayed their hand with respect to India. $50 billion worth of exports to US is 1% of India's GDP. It's not going to force India to change its.
Yes.
We got our freedom. We're not going to let anybody tell us what to do, right?
Yes.
And so I think US is realizing that, and we just need to let it play out.
In your book, you mentioned how when IITs were opened, people started going to US, and every year the number was increasing, and it's the same reason. People were educated. They wanted to use the skill set that they developed, and then that's why they were going. So it was not.
What's his name? Devan Mehta, the president of Nasdaq. He gave a speech one time. He said, we worry too much about brain drain. Brain drain is much better than brains in the drain. He said, so the word he used is a brain circulation. Our brains went. We didn't have the higher learning institute like Harvard and Stanford and MIT, and our brains got sharper and sharper, and we brought that thinking back to India.
Yes. So people who went to US, when they started coming back, they built better companies. Or people who chose to stay, they also did well, because by that time we started doing well. Like overall ecosystem evolved. And then people who didn't come back, they were also they started finding ways to give back to community. So it all spanned out.
We started by saying, how come you didn't do a second startup? Why did you do Thai? I got certain. I saw the impact that I was having, in India. So what happened? When I came to India first time for non-family visit in 1993, 1994, that's when I decided to give IIT my first donation. The buildings were not painted. Buildings were had plaster falling apart, and they had no budget in IIT budget for the maintenance. So I asked the director how much money will it take to paint these buildings and how much repair those buildings. And he looked at me and said, 15 lakh. And I did my calculation, 15 lakh, $50,000. It was 30 rupees to a dollar. So I wrote them a check for $50,000. They weren't able to cash the check for 3 years. The IITs were not set up to accept any donation or any money from anybody other than the government of India. That was the law. I had to go to Delhi, talk to the government.
Which year was this?
94, 95, 96, in that time frame. I had to say, why would you not let me give money to IIT? And so, so they were worried about, if we give the money, you will dictate what they can do. I say, I'm not asking for anything other than to paint that building and repair the building. And so it took a change, an act of parliament for them to accept the $50,000.
Where do you see India in AI?
I think India will be the biggest winner in AI. India will be the biggest winner. For the same reasons, India was a very big winner in IT. When a core fundamental technology like AI, internet happened, everybody has to adopt it. All the American companies will have to adopt it. All the European companies will have to adopt it. They don't have the demographic heft. Who's going to do it?
Any Indian AI company that you're following or excited about?
So we have companies. Again, they are Delaware incorporated, but they are all Indian companies. There's a company called the SciSpace. SciSpace emerged about 4 or 5 years ago to help the research papers for the pharma industry, for the universities, for the technology. The rate at which research is being done and published is unbelievable.
Yes.
Nobody can keep track of all the research in his own field. So they came up with the AI engine to read all the research papers in the world. Now you can deal with the size space and say, tell me all the research which has been published in this area and give me the summary. They are becoming very, very popular. Initially at the universities, and now in pharma companies and the industry, where I don't have to sit and spend 99% of my time reading papers. So I can set up the agents. Hey, any paper published in my field, you send me a summary of what's going on. So SciSpace is doing very well. We are doing very nicely. And I don't have the latest number.
Are you one of the investors?
Yeah, we are the investors. You should know how much their revenue this year? $10 million?
No, they're in excess of
15 already. $15 million of revenue. And doubling, tripling every year. Very profitable.
We are also investors in one of the cybersecurity companies. It's called CloudSec. So they are doing 11 million ARR.
Yeah.
And very recently, one US state fund has invested in them. And that makes them the first company in India in cybersecurity that is funded by a US state fund.
So I am not active at Inventors as much as I was before. I'm still there, a partner there, but I'm much more active at Silicon Valley Quad. Silicon Valley Quad is a super way of doing the angel investing. We have 4 of us. A quad is 4 of us. Me, Raju Reddy, B.V. Jagdish, and my daughter, who are the quad. But we have about 30 other investors who give us the capital. We don't charge any fee and carry. But we are doing the seed level and pre-seed level investments.
Okay, so all are AI startups.
Well, most of them are. Most of them are.
And the companies are in India-US corridor.
India-US corridor. But our requirement is Delaware incorporation is required because we want to take that tax benefit. And
similar to Neon Fund, because we are also Delaware fund, and we want companies to be incorporated in US so that we raise money in US, we deploy in US only.
Yeah, we should start sometime. But this Silicon Valley Quad is a way for people to participate in this Silicon Valley phenomena of early stage investing is very risky. Seed level especially, right? I don't know what level you invest in.
Yeah, seed stage.
Seed level investing. So most of them will fail. So you need to have a large portfolio.
Yes, we have invested in 60 companies so far.
So what we said also, angels are not able to provide you enough capital. 250, $500,000. Entrepreneurs spend half their time chasing money. And so this Silicon Valley Quad phenomena says, how can we provide $2 to $3 million to the fresh entrepreneur? So he's set for 18 to 24 months, and so he can get to his product market fit, and then go out to the VCs, to raise money. So that's our theory. Get the leverage of other people's money without getting the carry and fee. But we are doing our own investments. So we have a good capital base to do better deals, give them more capital. And entrepreneurs love it because it frees them up for 18 to 24 months.
So the model is like venture capital only, it's just that you don't charge management fees or carry.
So each year is a new special purpose vehicle.
And how big is the fund every year?
15, 20 million.
15, 20, okay.
And we do 6 to 8 deals.
Okay.
And
decent size seed stage check.
And now you can yeah, we would like you to stay with us every year, but yeah, you have to commit for 1 year because we need to know how much we of the pool we have. So we're going to build. The goal was to do 6 to 8 deals a year indefinitely, and we have done 27 deals, maybe 28 deals now.
Very interesting. It's just so amazing to see you being so passionate about the space, the people, the ecosystem.
Yeah, I love the entrepreneurs, right? Yeah, I told you there was a spiritual experience, doing the Thai. We framed it as India's second economic freedom movement. So pretty lofty, thinking, I am 80. If I didn't do this, then what will I do? So my goal is to stay fit and stay intellectually engaged, stay productive.
It's been very inspiring to see you traveling to all these cities. You were in Calcutta, you were in Jaipur, you were in Hyderabad. I was also in Hyderabad.
So
I see
we
the
were in
poster.
Chennai day before yesterday. We were in Calcutta yesterday. We are in Bangalore today. And the day before Chennai, we were in Hyderabad. So we are going to 12 cities
Wow.
in a little over 30 days in India. Yeah.
So
I think it's back to the, what's the alternative? Should I stay, do true, watch TV, right?
I'm sure people like you can't do that.
Yeah, the idea scares me. Yeah.
We hosted C. Rangarajan sir on podcast. He is former RBI governor. He was 92 when we hosted him on podcast. And he was, we did this interview in Madras School of Economics. And people told me who closely work with him that till very recently he would come to office every day. And he had just finished a book. So we were doing this interview covering his book also. And the parting message from him was, we'll see you when I finish my second book.
So a reporter asked Winston Churchill when he turned 90 that I hope to see you when you turn 100. And Mr. Churchill looked at me and said, yeah, you're healthy enough to be around 10 years from now.
That's the energy we need.
I feel blessed. I feel blessed as a person. Where I started from in my life to where I went.
And sir, you often talk about first principles in business. How do you now apply them in life? Because my experience is like pretty small.
You can apply first principles everywhere. It's a fundamental way of thinking. Break down the problem into its element, and then tackle each element. When I tell the entrepreneurs, your early implies are not implies. Your early implies are your partners. They are taking the same risk that you are taking. They are terminating. If you think of them implies, you're not rewarding them for the risk they are taking. And eventually you don't lose them. Because at some place they will get smart and say, hey, we did the work and he took all the rewards. You do bad, So we require in our Silicon Valley required companies, hopefully 20% of the equity reserved for the employees. And
if you can just list down 4 or 5 things like that help you build conviction when you are evaluating a founder, just 2-3 things.
Very quickly. If you are hung up on the valuation in the beginning and you're spending 6 months to a year to raise money, you're being foolish, you're being left behind. You could double, triple value if you took the money and started to build the stuff. So the entrepreneurs who starts to hang his hat on valuation, if I'm not able to convince him within minutes, he's not thinking clearly, and his decision making is along that value line. He's gonna screw up with other things. The entrepreneurial journey is making large number of decisions. And sum total of those decisions is your success or failure.
Yes.
And if you're making dumb decisions at this level, where you're not able to do valuation, value $1 million, we are putting $2.5 to $3 million, we fee you up for 18 to 24 months. Yeah. If you don't see the value in that.
Yeah.
So we have. I'm also very fortunate. Since we are seed level investor, I know we are not building a company in the money we are investing. We are enabling you to become a VC ready.
Yeah.
So my whole focus and my whole advice to the entrepreneur is, can we now? You told me a story. Can we make that story partially real using our money, so we can go to a VC and show him what we have, and 10, 3, 4x, 5x, if for that stuff. So all the energy. I don't want you to be thinking long term. Can you get the minimum product ready? Can you get 2, 3 design partners? Can we get 1 to 2 painters? So let's focus on that. Let's not worry about building a $1 billion company. You get back to the basics.
So basically, the clarity we need from entrepreneurs, like what do they do with the money that we are giving in the just next 1 year, let's say.
Yeah, but that 1 year value has to be of usefulness. I dispense with long-term thinking. Yeah, we will worry about building a $1 billion company when we get the money. But let's take this baby step and see we can get our story sharpened, get our some data points on our story, some validation points, so we can get the $10 million funding.
Sure. Thank you so much, sir. It was an insightful discussion for me also. And since we share a lot of common things when it comes to investing, we also commit seed trade. We also invest in companies that are incorporated in US. Invest mostly in enterprise AI. So got to learn a lot from you.
Yeah. We should find ways to do some joint investments.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for your time.